So ever since I can remember, I grew up watching Miss India. 15-year-old kid, and these girls standing on television and watching, answering questions, and I would be like, I would have given a better answer than that. Or just being in awe of those women and that platform and what I thought that it stood for, back then. Being this ambassador for all things good, making a change, standing for something bigger than yourself. And that's something that I still believe in.
Hi, Shefali.
Hi.
Shefali Sood. Welcome to the Real Voice podcast.
Thank you.
Where, as the name suggests, we like to get real. And your accomplishments are very well known. You are Instagram famous, girl.
I don't know if that's a real thing. Okay.
I'm pretty sure it is. I'm pretty sure it is. But you were also the winner of Miss Diva Supranational in 2019.
That's right.
And you are currently an actress, and you've been in a bunch of commercials as well. So you're out there, you're hustling.
Hustling and how?
Yeah. And everybody knows kind of about what you do and the many talents that you possess. I would really like to know about how you grew up and your childhood, because I've heard some really interesting stories.
So I was raised in Delhi, so I'm a Delhi girl, and my family is also now based there. My father is in the Merchant Navy, so I traveled a lot when I was growing up. Like, we would be on the ship for three months straight. I was missing school. My mom would get special permissions for my brother and I. I have a younger brother. My mom is a government officer, and my brother's an investment banker in London right now. So
that sounds like such a cool way to grow up. You grew up nomadically.
Yeah, I would say that. I definitely do think that moving around, so much when you're so young, did have a huge impact on who I was as a person. I definitely think it made me very adaptable to people and new situations and circumstances. But yeah, I do think that it had a few drawbacks, especially when it came to friendships in school, because when you're that young, nobody really sticks around, right? So I would leave thinking, oh, my best friend, and I would come back finding my best friend being best friends with another person. So, but no, I think all in all,
no loyalty when you're a kid.
None whatsoever. I don't think it changes when you're an adult either.
We're gonna get into that later. But what was that like? Were there other kids on the ships with you, or were you just mostly surrounded by adults?
Yes. Mostly adults. Occasionally, every a couple of, I would say, trips or so, there would be somebody traveling with their kids, but that was rare. So it was always my brother and I, and a lot of adults, and that's also sort of spoiled us a little bit in terms of being the center of attention always, and people taking care of us and catering to every need, because my father was the captain and has been the captain of the ship for as long as I remember. So everybody was just running behind us all the time. So it was nice.
And so you became an actor. You're like, how do I prolong this?
I feel like I've made it sound really bratty, but no, that was not the case at all. Acting came very organically, actually, but we'll get to that later.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was nice having that, as a part of your childhood, where there's somebody sort of always looking out for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And do you remember any interesting, anecdote from that time? Because you traveled a lot, you saw a lot as a kid.
I mean, there's so many things. I mean, right now they may sound, again, anticlimactic, but there was these huge ships that we would travel on, because my dad was the captain of oil tankers, and to be able to get on the ship, there are only two ways. One is called the gangway, and the other is a pilot ladder. So a pilot ladder is essentially just this ladder, with ropes on it, and just it hangs on the side of the ship. Okay, it's the most intimidating thing in the world. And to be able to get to the shore, because the ship is in the middle of the ocean, so to be able to get to the shore, we travel on these really fast speedboats where my literally look if you move your body weight even a little bit, you'll tip over into the ocean. So I remember my mother being terrified of me or my brother falling into the sea. And just like, so many things. My brother was a really sort of easy kid. That's what my mom says. So she would just go and mingle with everybody. So once my mom, my brother, and I were in Indonesia, and we were shopping. And I remember this incident so distinctly because I think he must have been 3 or 4, maybe 2 or 3 years old. And, my mom just lost him. She couldn't find him, okay? And she's just panicking. Where is Shantanu? Where is Shantanu? I can't find him. And then we see that he's sitting in the middle of like this group of like 10 ladies. Like he's sitting in the center and they're all playing with him and he's just laughing without a care in the world. So, so many such small incidents, but yeah.
So you had a very adventurous childhood.
I would say so.
Would you say that that sense of adventure has continued?
Ironically, yes. And the reason that I say ironically is that we stopped traveling, at least stopped going on the ship when I was about 9 years old. But even then we kept traveling because I have a lot of family that lives abroad. But growing up, especially in my teenage years, I would say that I was this really non-adventurous person. Like I always wanted to be safe, and I always wanted to protect myself. I was not open to new things, which is again an irony given the profession that I chose for myself. So I feel like I grew up with a very adventurous childhood, and then I went into this like cocoon of sorts, and then I just sort of moved out into this field of unpredictability and uncertainty and new characters and new lives and everything new every single day.
Yeah. And putting yourself out there
every day.
Every single
and
day.
Just facing so much rejection or just meeting so many new people, just all the things that can make you very uncomfortable on a normal day.
So how did you go from, being in your cocoon to choosing the profession that you did and being a part of a pageant that is very competitive and demanding?
Yes, those are both very accurate terms to define this world. So ever since I can remember, I grew up watching Miss India. I was those girls who would sit down my mom used to go to office. Okay, my mom's been a working woman all her life, all of my life. And she would come back and she would, take off her sari and go to the washroom, okay? And while she was in the washroom, I'd quickly put on her sari. And I would do this every day for years. And then stand in front of the mirror, dance on like Teri Aur and all that, okay? That was always me, okay? And it was not something that I would do in front of another person. But at home, every day I would do this, okay? And I was that kid that we would watch as a family, 15-year-old kid, and these girls standing on television and watching, answering questions, and I would be like, I would have given a better answer than that. Or just being in awe of those women and that platform and what I thought that it stood for, back then. Being this ambassador for all things good, making a change, standing for something bigger than yourself, and that's something that I still believe in. So, when I turned 18, my father said, why don't you participate in Miss India? And I was like, I don't think I know anything to be able to participate in Miss India. And he's like, no, just give it a shot. I think that you can do it. Just go for it. And like an 18-year-old stupid girl who did not even know how to do her makeup. I did not know how to do it. I didn't know how to dress myself properly for a pageant like Miss India. I went and I auditioned and I obviously did not make it. And once I got a taste of it, once I realized that it is possible for me, what I've seen on TV is possible for me, things just changed after that. I took 2 years to train myself. I was very sure I wanted to finish my education. So I finished my college, even though my parents kept pushing me that just go, keep trying. I said, not until I'm done with college. And thank God I took that decision. And then I competed for the first time in Miss India in 2017. This is the year that Manushi went on to win Miss World. So I was in top 6 that year. And I didn't win. And I was really heartbroken that I didn't win. But I guess everything happens for a good reason. Then I participated again in Miss Diva, which is Miss India Universe, in 2018. I didn't win again. But I was so driven. I was prepared to compete for the 3rd time. And I finally got my crown in 2019.
So that must have been an incredible feeling.
It was so, it felt right. And it felt fulfilling. And it felt like the culmination of one chapter and the start of another. So
And what was the next chapter after you won the crown?
acting was a very sort of natural progression. Again, I always thought, like, look at what I'm telling you, right? So it was just always there, but I never thought that I was confident enough or that it was a possibility for me. There was more fear than faith when it came to this particular field and this particular dream of mine. But I guess, I moved to Bombay. And right when I was on the cusp of just starting my career in acting, the lockdown came, and then 2 years nothing happened. So it was only after 2021 that I was able to pursue this whole thing and get into it. And yeah, the rest is history. I'm still hustling, still figuring out my way, but I know that this is what I'm really passionate about.
And you said something really interesting about fear and faith. How do you feel like you were able to conquer your fears and have faith in the process or yourself?
I think that one thing that I always had, even as a young kid, was this sense of something greater than me. Like, I always had this sense of spirituality. It is just something that I think that I was born with. My parents are also not very religious people, but we are all very deeply spiritual people. I don't know if it came from there or it just having this connection with the universe or God or whatever you want to call it, or some kind of an energy. I feel like it was not so much about the journey, it was about the fact that I didn't have faith in myself. I grew up as somebody, despite all my experiences, I grew up as a very insecure and underconfident person. And I had no faith in myself. I never thought that I was smart enough. I never thought that I was beautiful enough. I never thought I was talented enough. And funnily enough, every single relationship, friendship or romantic, anything that I attracted into my life was just mirrors of this particular feeling. And it took for me to change this relationship that I had with myself, this inner dialogue that I had with myself, to be able to pursue my dreams, which I thought that I was not good enough for.
Where did that feeling come from, the feeling of not being good enough?
I'm not entirely sure, I think that as amazing as my father's job, at least this is what I've been able to figure out so far, that as amazing as my dad's job was, it also kept him away from us for prolonged periods of time. So when we were not traveling with him, and he was not only with us, he was not home, he was on the ship, right? So I feel like the absence of a very prominent male figure in my life just sort of led me to feel this sort of emotional lack of emotional safety, I would say, because my mother was also a working woman. So I did not have that sort of constant reassurance that maybe children would, like, I'm not saying my parents, like, they did their best, right? But I feel like there were these gaps that left me feeling like I wasn't good enough. And I kept, like, even the friends that I had from a very young age, they kept rejecting me or abandoning me. So there was this constant sense of rejection, failure, abandonment that was underneath everything that I did and felt about myself. At least that's my understanding of it at the moment.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot to go through, especially when you are a kid and you are trying to figure out your place in this world. And it's always nice to feel like you have a safety net.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And like you said, that reassurance.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure what it was. It was just like we were, like I said, all of our parents do their best, with the resources that they have and their upbringing and their conditioning. But I felt like maybe what I needed in that moment as a, young girl, maybe maybe they didn't know how to give it to me. They didn't know that I needed it. I didn't know that I needed it. And I grew up to be this person, only to reverse engineer and figure out that, oh, this is what was missing.
I think you just described being an adult, a young adult. There's just a lot of reverse engineering.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. And so you were, and this is something that not a lot of people know about, but you have been vocal about it in the past. You did struggle with, your mental health. And so and was this like during the pageants, and at what point were you struggling? And
It was before the pageant, so not during the pageant. It was in my college time. It was very sort of, it came up in a very big way when I was in college. A friendship that I had sort of triggered it, and the way that that friend treated me, and just the whole course of that friendship, everything that happened, sort of triggered it, and I felt this deep sadness and loneliness for a very long time. So much so that some days it was hard to get out of bed. And then again, it sort of came back during the lockdown. I do think that a lot of people suffered during the lockdown, but because I was familiar with this feeling, I knew it was more than just being cooped up. There was this sense of, it was triggered again because of a relationship. And I really struggled. I remember not being able to sleep for a good straight 6 months straight. I put on a lot of weight. I was severely depressed. I was constantly anxious, and I had no mental peace. I had no sense, and I remember in that moment only praying. I didn't pray for the relationship to work. I didn't pray for anything, but I would just pray all the time that I just want like a few seconds of mental peace, because the voice, the mental chatter, the negative self-talk was so real and so loud all the time that it was really hard to navigate those couple of months.
And then it hurts to like be in your head a little bit.
Oh my God. Like, especially because it's so hard to understand what I was going through in that moment. I couldn't explain to anybody. I did have friends, but it was very hard for me to explain that to my family. It was very hard. Like, they didn't know. I think they'll know now when they, watch this or listen to this, that there were 6 months that I didn't sleep because I couldn't. So it was very difficult, yeah, and it took a lot getting out of that space and just becoming this version of myself. It took a lot of work, conscious and on a subconscious level, I guess.
And I imagine you had to really like face the things that triggered you.
Oh yes, oh my God. I think that's the hardest part of healing, and that people think that in today's day and age, I feel like self-care is such a, like it's such a fad. People think that it's about bubble baths, taking yourself out shopping and blah, blah, blah. But people don't understand that self-care is really doing the work, making sure that you are not carrying baggage from your past and from your childhood into your new relationships, into your new friendships, making sure who you are, like not making excuses for your flaws and your shortcomings, owning them, working on them. And that is really hard, like facing your demons and facing your deepest insecurities and fears, like the fear of rejection in my case, the fear of abandonment, the fear of failure, that insecurity that I'm not good enough. Like, you really have to bring them to the surface, sit with them, and literally like reverse engineer every single thing to be able to work through it and function like a normal person then.
So what were your triggers?
For the longest time, I mean, there were multiple, but for the longest time, I felt I was so fearful. I don't know how I even managed to be on stage, because for me, one of my greatest fears was that what will people think of me? What are people thinking of me? Because I constantly felt not good enough. So I thought that that's what other people were thinking of me as well. Another thing another baggage that I really brought into my relationships and friendship was this fear of abandonment. So I would constantly be somebody who needed reassurance or somebody who needed to be told, and it's nobody's job to, like, okay, whatever a partner is doing for you is doing out of space of love and whatever. And yes, eventually when you find the right relationship, the person will automatically know, or they will learn your, sort of behaviors and how to soothe you in, or your nervous system when it's irregulated. But I didn't know any better back then, and neither did the people that I was choosing as my partners. So you can imagine there was a big mess. So these were some of the things, just constantly feeling not good enough and relying on an external source for that validation, and then not getting it and going into that cycle of shame and guilt and rejection all over again. So it was like the vicious cycle.
Yeah. And how did you bring yourself to step out of that vicious cycle?
I think the first thing is understanding that pattern, right? Like understanding that this is what I'm doing and this is what I've been doing with, ever since I started dating, or ever since you meet somebody, that this is my pattern. And also, I think at some point when you have the resources and you've done a certain amount of work, or you just become wise enough or mature enough, you understand and you get tired of your own, your own self. Like, you get tired of your own excuses and you just say that, okay, I don't want to be this person anymore. Sometimes it's more subtle and more automatic, but most of the times it isn't. And you just get tired of being that version of yourself. And you decide that I want to be better, I can do better, and then you do better.
Yeah, because there's like a realization that happens, like, oh my God, is this it? Yeah, I'm like, no, this cannot
Not
be
be
it.
it. Yeah. Like, I
it has
just
to
think that
be
you
you.
need to choose better for yourself. Like, once you, whether something happens to trigger that response, or whether you become wise automatically and inherently, there is this time when you decide that I want to be a better version of myself, and then your journey sort of ensues to whoever it is that you want to be.
And you're also open then to asking for help.
Oh,
Do be
yes.
better.
Oh my God. I think asking for help is such a big thing, especially when it comes to mental health, your own insecurities. We live in a culture where it is sort of looked down upon to, just sort of ask for help, or, talk about these things openly. And I really hope that, the change that is coming can fix this mentality that you shouldn't be asking for help, or there's something wrong with you. This dialogue from Dears in the Year, I always quote it, is such an important thing, that when we get hurt on our bodies physically, we always go, to the doctor, and nobody questions us. So why is, when there's something wrong with another body part, simply because it's not visible, why is it such a taboo to go to the doctor? Is that not a body part that's not functioning entirely well? And does that not mean the same attention and help that you would give to an external wound? So I feel like that really, like, asking for help really changes the game.
Yeah. And so you got help eventually.
I
and
did.
you were able to.
So I feel like good therapists are also a big blessing, and it can be hard to find the right fit. I went through my fair share of therapists before I found the right fit, and I say this with love, and I say this with respect, and I say this from the best possible place, but I think everybody needs therapy.
Absolutely.
Like, everybody can use that perspective and that space of non-judgment, and a space that's completely free of bias, to be able to understand who they are and show up better in the world, in their relationships, and for themselves.
Because we don't fully understand how vulnerable we are to being impacted.
Yeah, exactly.
Our brains are like sponges, and they really do absorb like things that we don't even know it's absorbed, especially growing up as kids.
And our
Right.
brains are just more susceptible to picking up negative information than they are to picking up positive information. Like, that's a fact. You will remember a negative memory much more vividly and clearly than you will remember a positive memory.
Yeah.
So much of it is subconscious, like you said. But seeking help also, like, let's say therapy is not affordable for somebody, although now there are so many resources out there.
So many. And in
Yeah.
fact, a lot of these, counseling companies are making it very
Very inaccessible.
Yeah.
But seeking help comes in different forms, is what I was trying to say. Like, it comes in being able to explain the people that care about you how to show up for you. Even the most educated of parents and family members, open-minded, are sometimes not able to understand your struggle. Like, initially, my parents didn't understand, and it took a while for me to make them understand. So I'm sure there are so many people out there with parents who may not be as evolved as mine, or may not be as maybe conditioned differently, and for those people, it can be quite the struggle to sort of make their parents understand. But I just want to say that help is available everywhere if you really want to get better.
And what was, the catalyst in you reaching out to your parents and helping them understand what you were going through?
I've always had a very open relationship with my family. I've always had like a very like, my mom's my best friend. And also I'm a lot like my father in terms of how emotional and how sensitive and how thoughtful he is. So I even though initially they did not understand, that was never sort of a hindrance for me to keep things from them, because I just knew that even if they don't understand, they will show up for me and they will be there for me, even in moments they don't know what they're doing. So yeah, it was just like having that door open to be able to communicate anything and everything. And that's a relationship my brother also has with my parents, that they just raised us in a way that made sure that we never had to lie, we never had to sneak around, we never had to do anything that would sort of bring embarrassment to them, because they never made it, like a restricted environment for us. And that I think is key, just being able to communicate with someone, that someone's providing that space for you to be able to come to them.
Yeah. And showing up even if they don't understand.
Even in moments like it was messy. I'm not saying that everything that they did was perfect. Like sometimes I'd just be like, why don't you get it? Like I'm trying to explain it to you, why don't you get it? And their conditioning and their upbringing sort of comes in the way, because look at the generation they're from. My parents are almost 60 plus, right? Not my mom, but my dad is. So I don't blame them. So having compassion for them and teaching them how to have compassion for you, even if they don't entirely understand what you're going through.
Yeah. So you have, you've been able to kind of reflect all your, like, most of what you've learned for yourself towards your parents and your family. Has that reflection happened in your romantic relationships?
Yes and no. So the yes part is that a lot of that reflection happened after the relationship was over.
Best time. That's the best time to reflect.
The no part is that I am yet to be like this version of me. This version of me is yet to find, like, this healed version of me. I am yet to be in a relationship where I get to put to test everything that I've become. Because when you meet a new person and when you sort of have healed certain traumas and certain like triggers and just who you are or whatever, and then a new person comes along with completely different ideals, experiences, upbringings, whatever, you don't know what they will say or what they will do and how that will impact you and how you will react to it, and have you changed your ways of reaction and your patterns. So that is the no part of it. I'm yet to find somebody and meet somebody or be in a situation where I get to put everything to the test or where everything gets put to the test automatically, and then I can say, yes, I reacted differently, now I know better. So that's the no part. But the yes is that I know everything that I shouldn't have done and everything that I did because I didn't know any better.
It's really funny that you're saying that about, being able to test things in a new relationship, because with new relationships come a whole new array of new triggers and, new experiences that they're not necessarily going to be bad.
Yeah.
There'll be great experiences, but they will also be, like blank slates almost. So there's no real way, I think, to
figure it out,
test or to,
which is the scary part of it, right? Like, and at this point, I would like to ask you something, as you're a relationship expert and a matchmaker, so I feel like this would be right up your alley. That how would you suggest that when someone has had a certain pattern in a relationship or has just had like difficult relationships, romantic relationships in general, and then one has done the work and is ready to sort of like, date again or put yourself out there, how would you suggest that one navigates a new relationship, or the fears or the triggers that come up in a new relationship? Because you can't put that burden on a new person that you've just met, right? Because they're going to run in the opposite direction really quickly.
I agree, and that is why you hire a relationship coach. No, okay, seriously, that is actually a great question. I think after, you have had a couple relationships and you have been able to identify your fears and patterns, and, you've seen heartbreak, and you've kind of, and in fact, when you're young and you experience heartbreak, it hurts more than anything, because you kind of went in with all your ideals, and your ideals get crushed, and it's tough. I don't think there's any way to like bubble wrap your emotions in life. I don't think there's, but also fortunately, right? Because it's that lack of a bubble wrap around our hearts that also let us experience extreme intimacy and joy in relationships like never before.
Definitely.
But I think I think just there is a balance that you strike between like bearing your soul in a new relationship and like just showing them everything that and also there's a balance between doing that and also just being honest about how you felt about something. I think where the struggle lies with most people is that we mistake being honest with putting the responsibility of dealing with those emotions that we're feeling on the other person. So I can share with you, right, how I'm feeling, and I can also share with you what I have done, the steps I'm taking to make myself feel better or to reconcile these feelings within myself, right? If I'm sharing with you that I've had a shit day, I don't and I can tell you, right, hey, I don't expect you to do anything about it. I would just really like it for you to listen and, maybe I'll go for a swim later and I'll feel better. And so there's like sharing with the intention of, okay, here's my baggage, here's my problems, now fix it for me.
Yeah.
Or sharing from, hey, this is what I've been through and this is the work that I'm doing currently
To be able to fix it.
to be able to have a healthy relationship with you. And then you're communicating your intention for the relationship, which I think has the ability to bring you so much closer to someone that you're starting dating, right? Because you're like, this is what I would like. This is the kind of relationship I want. And I know that this is what I need to do to be able to be in this relationship.
Very interesting. Also, if the person in question, let's say, understands and gives you the space to do your own, thing when you are, like, say, like having a, shit day. And then once you have had the time to deal with it on your own, then just does something to make you feel better. That's a bonus, right? Like that's not an expectation, but that's a bonus if you get that, right?
It's always a bonus to do nice things for the people that you're with. But I think at the same time, this is going to sound so unromantic, but it's really important for you to communicate that to your partner.
Yeah,
and be like, so, after I have shared with you, it'd be nice if you could do something.
Yeah. At least initially.
Take me out for ice cream. And I think it's like also kind of cute to have these conversations because I think that's true vulnerability.
Yeah.
When you're saying like, hey, you know what? I like it when you call me cute, and like, even if I don't look good or I'm sick, just tell me, that I've got it going on today. And I think that would make me feel nice, right?
Yeah.
And even saying that, like, try saying that to someone. So you feel so silly and you're like, what am I saying? But you kind of have to push through that and just say it anyway and have a laugh about it. And I know that that's something you've recently learned to do, is have a laugh about a lot of things.
Yeah. I do have one more question in, sort of congruence to what you said. That what would you say is the, like, okay, give me one thing that you would say is an absolute, something that everyone, or at least generally speaking, everyone must do in a new relationship, and the one thing that everyone absolutely must not do in a new relationship.
Oh, man. So how you were saying that there's like a lot of like pop psychology out there that's just like all about the positive and like, oh, just go for a run and all your problems will go away. I think like the problem with, not really the problem, but I think I see a lot of like generic dating advice out there. And what I love about what I do is that I focus a lot on the context of any situation. And I think that's where anything truly actionable in terms of like advice or tips, or even me being able to understand where you're coming from, right? I think context is very powerful in our perception of who we are, our belief systems. And so I actually really stay away from giving out these like, one-liner generic
Fair enough,
things, because I just feel like there is no right answer, really, right?
Especially when it comes to like matters of the heart.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's
like
so subjective.
Everybody needs different things. Everybody needs to be like, we all use the same words, right? Like we all say, oh yeah, I want love, I want connection. But then what love means to you and what love means to me
are two different things.
It's different.
But then, okay, so when it comes to the do, it is very hard to use. But there must be like one thing, like a don't, which you would say that you get, like, it would not help a new relationship to go down this path. Or, like, let's say what we were discussing, like not dumping your insecurities on somebody else and expecting them to, take stock and make you feel better. Like, it's nobody's job to make you feel better. Right?
Yeah.
Maybe something like that.
Until it is. Until you know they love you, and then it is their job.
Of course, yes. Yeah.
Okay, I get your question. I would say, I think introspection, like, it's not like introspection and then action, right? It's not enough to know your triggers, or it's not enough to know what's wrong or right. It's about the action that follows that. Like, what are you going to do about it? Because I think we all know a lot. Like, I know chocolate is bad, but will I eat a whole Ferrero Rocher box when I'm feeling annoyed or having a shit day? I absolutely will, and then I'll feel bad about it. And then that's how you kind of get into these cycles. So it's not enough for me to know that. I need to actually actively
work on it. Yeah. And
think about it. Like, stop, take a second, be like, if I eat this third Ferrero Rocher.
Yeah, it's not,
which is secretly my sixth Ferrero Rocher. Am I going to feel good about it after, And so I think just having, like, constantly asking yourself questions and being honest with yourself.
Yeah.
Which is with everything, right? With your work, with your partner, with, like, dating, all of it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And like you said, like, healing is not a linear process. And when it comes to triggers and feelings, like, it can be so, I would not say unpredictable, but, like, for the lack of a better term, unpredictable in the sense that what you may have dealt with really well on a particular day, you might not have the same bandwidth and same sort of, same, I don't know, just mental space to deal with it in the perfect way on another day, right?
Yeah. And there is no such thing as perfect, right? And, like, I get asked this question, as a matchmaker a lot, like, what do you think is, like, the perfect way to date? Or what do you think is, like, how can I be the perfect partner or the perfect boyfriend? And it's just like, just stay away from that word.
Yeah,
I think stop trying to chase this ideal
of perfection.
Because, and
it doesn't exist.
It doesn't.
Simply because it doesn't really exist. Like, what is perfect? Who decides what is perfect? So in any, when it comes to beauty, when it comes to relationships, when it comes to love, when it comes to friendship, when it comes to work, when it comes to art, what is perfect?
Yeah. And where does that perfection get you really at the end of the day? Like, I think it just sometimes leaves you with a bigger understanding of what you're lacking than what you're able to give.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think that's something that also kind of then stagnates your own growth when you can't recognize what you can give to a relationship.
Yeah, that is then there's like time for introspection again. Yeah, and figuring out where to go from there.
Yeah, because what you will give to a romantic relationship and what you will give to a dear friend and your family or people that you just care about in general, it is the same thing, right? It's your time, your attention,
your effort.
Your effort, yeah.
It is, when you come out of a new relationship, at least this is my experience, so I speak very subjectively, that it is very easy to sort of, although this is what I've observed, that it's very easy for other people to find, like, people to, another relationship to fall into. That's never been the case with me. I don't know whether it's like divine intervention or what it is that I repel people, but I have never had a relationship immediately after getting out of another one. Never. And thankfully that it has sort of served me well, because I have used that time to, like you said, introspect and really understand who I am and what I want. And at this point in my life, I guess my focus is very different. That doesn't mean that I'm not open to love. I am. But there is a certain amount of fear, that is in my mind and in my demeanor when it comes to attracting a new partner, because I've been burned so many times before. Simply because the people that I met hadn't done the work that, one would have to do to be in a healthy relationship. And I was also that person at some point. So right now my work is my absolute priority. So I don't think that leaves much room for anything else. But I'm still open to love, and when it comes, it comes. Yeah, and hopefully it will be a person, because I don't think I can. Although again, that goes against what we're talking. That I know that I can't jump into the relationship, and I would have to put to test everything that I've learned and everything that I've healed. So we'll just see how it goes.
Yeah. But I think that actually, is like a feather in your cap, to be honest, because there is I don't think people actually who jump into love or fall into love, I don't know if that is love, especially
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
the nature of that being very quick, and
Yeah.
it seems a lot like we fall into infatuation,
Yeah.
whereas love is something that you practice.
Yeah, and it
Right.
comes over a period of time, always. Do you believe in love at first sight?
No,
No, right?
no, I don't. I do believe in like attraction.
Yeah.
I think, and I think like also evolutionarily, we do like, even the reason that we're attracted to some like certain physical traits, like being physically attracted is not actually shallow. How we have evolved as a species, like the whole science behind like pheromones and being attracted to certain scents and body language and everything, like it's very fascinating.
Yeah, it is. And it makes me feel a little validated also. Because, everybody's like, oh, looks don't matter and all of that. But when you go, like you said, when you go deep there as to why you're finding somebody attractive in a certain, certain features about them attract you or whatever, it can be, like I said, it's validating.
Yeah. But that's the thing, right? Like the buck doesn't stop there. It kind of continues. It's like, okay, we find certain physical features attractive, but then that's not it, right? We need to be able to actually connect with this person. that
Yeah,
we've
exactly.
Seen across the room and been like, damn.
It's been a while since I felt that way about somebody, which is really sad, right? Like, it's been a really long time since I looked at somebody and I thought, oh, like, that's a beautiful person. Like, that's a good-looking man or whatever.
Do you believe in love at first sight?
I used to because I didn't know any better, and I would like to because it would make things a lot easier. But no, I don't, because I feel like love. I read this somewhere and it made so much sense to me, and I've always sort of held on to it. Love is not a noun; it's a verb. It's what you do for somebody constantly over a period of time. And how you sort of help them heal and how they help you heal and how you show up for them and how they show up for you. And so much more, is what love really is. So like love at first sight, there's no room for love at first sight.
Yeah.
Like you said, there's attraction, there's infatuation, there's probably lust, but there's no love at first sight.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to be, right? Because it's like, what are you falling in love with?
What are you falling in love with? But
Yeah.
I would say at this point that I've been guilty of it. Like, I've been guilty of feeling that, looking at somebody and feeling like, oh my God, this is such a beautiful person, for whatever reason you think that. And then you speak to them, let's say a couple of times, and you have intimate conversations. Like, I'm not saying that you don't, you get vulnerable with each other, but 1, 2, 3 weeks, even a month or 2 months, like I've been guilty of like, thinking like a 2-month, 3 months relationship, even without the physical aspect of it. I've been guilty of thinking that I'm in love with this person, on the basis of what they have said, and not taking enough time to understand that whether what they're saying matches who they are and what they're doing.
Yeah. I think that was one of the harder lessons I had to learn as well, because I mean, it's so easy, and forget easy, it's enticing to fall in love with someone's words.
Yeah.
But it takes patience to actually notice actions.
It really does, yeah. And it can be really, like you said, it can be really hard because we are so desperate and hardwired to believe in the potential of someone as opposed to taking the time to know who someone really is, because that those butterflies in your stomach. I was speaking to a friend yesterday, and he was talking about this person that he met, and how he really loves this person, but she's not the one for him. So I said, why do you say that? Because you say, like he said, she's amazing, she's beautiful, she's nurturing, she's this, she's that, but I don't feel butterflies. And I said, do you realize that those butterflies are like your gut feeling telling you that this is trauma,
Yeah,
like this is
something's
familiar
wrong.
trauma, something's not right? But we are so hardwired to believe that those butterflies are that, a sign that this is the right person for us.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so true. And so you have like come a long way in your personal relationships, but you've also come a long way professionally. And I say this because, you are a theater actress now. And theater is it's intense. It's,
It's very hard. Yeah.
and you have to do a lot of work, a lot of prep that goes into it. And you're actually acting in a play right now.
Yes. It would be the first play of my like I've done a montage of smaller sort of like scene work before, but this would like be my first play of my adult life. And taking this decision was really, really hard. But I feel like theater adds so much to an actor's sort of repertoire of skills and what you have to offer in terms of your craft. There's nothing like there's no comparison between camera acting and theater acting. Like you don't get do-overs in theater, and that sort of builds character in so many ways.
And so tell me about your role in this play called Jutiapa.
Yeah.
It's such an interesting role, and it sounds like a lot of fun. You're in, a comedy and farcical play called Jutiapa.
Yeah.
Please tell me about your role, because it sounds super interesting.
So basically, I play this female warden, and I'm the warden of a male hostel. Like, it's deliberately so that I have, I'm running a hostel for only guys, and I no women are allowed in my hostel. I'm just really like, how it's a very stereotypical character, how you see in films, or like, in older times, there was this really strict, mid-30s or, early 40s woman who's, wearing like a grey sari, or
your
like
hair slicked back in a bun.
Back in a bun with my chashma, like that. And, I'm very protective about the people in my hostel, but at the same time, I have a lot of empathy for, women. So it's almost like a woman who's so hardened that, everybody makes fun of her as that you're not really a woman. Like, who will look at you and say that you're a woman, but you are a woman? So all the boys in the hostel make fun of her like that. So it's a very real character, even though the genre of the play is a farce. And it's about this guy who, the one of the college students who's getting married, who wants to get married to his longtime girlfriend. And the girlfriend's father says that you're okay to marry him, but you will only marry a guy who's khandani, like, someone who's wealthy and rich and whatever. And then everything that happens, towards through the course of the play is the guy trying to prove to the father that he is indeed khandani. So my character is actually very real. There's a lot of like funny characters in the play, but mine is very real. And it's very hard. It was very hard for me to actually channel that energy of a, like, let's say late 30s or early 40s woman who is running a boys' hostel, constantly on edge, constantly very, very, very stern, very strict, not even a smile on her face, and
like vigilant.
Like very vigilant. Wardens don't really have a life of their own outside of the hostel, right? Like their life revolves. This is her business, right? So how to navigate like young 19, 20-year-old boys and their problems, and there's a myriad of problems that they come with. So it's a very interesting character, and so many things sort of like come to light when you are constantly rehearsing and working on any piece of art.
What has been your favorite thing about playing this character, and what is your favorite thing about this character?
I like how righteous she is, because that's how I feel about myself. Like, I feel like when you're playing any character, and even though I'm a really new actor, this is something I've realized, that you have to find a little bit of you in every character. Because otherwise, how would you, even no matter how evolved you are as an actor, how can you portray something that doesn't feel authentic to you? So for me, I feel like I'm always somebody who's morally on the right track. Like, I always want to uphold what is morally correct for me. Like, nobody should be getting hurt. Like, somebody who's very honest, somebody with a lot of integrity. So I've sort of found that in this character, because I would like to think that I'm those things. And if I had to tell you like my favorite experience through this play, and it is something that came very recently to me because we've been rehearsing on it for almost 2 months. so many drawbacks, like so many shortcomings also come up, as an actor when you're rehearsing. You're just like, shit, I can't even do this. Well, I can't even speak like this. I'm fumbling so much. That's so many things, right? But my favorite thing would be that growing up, my parents, my mom, she has a very good sense of humor. So she'd always keep pulling my leg. And my brothers also like that. And I was so sensitive. And they would all say, you're so uptight. You don't even know how to take a joke. And that was true. I did not know how to take a joke. And now, because it's a comedy play, there are people sitting in front of you all the time, the actors who are not in the scene, or your teacher or whoever, the director never laughs at you. But people are always laughing, and you can never tell whether they're laughing at you or they're laughing at the scene or both, right? And I never thought that I would get so comfortable in my own skin, playing my character, doing my job, that I wouldn't care or wouldn't have a care in the world as to, if someone's laughing at me. So that has been such a huge thing for me, shedding that inhibition and learning to take myself seriously as an actor, but lightly as a person.
I really like that. And tell me where this is playing, because I would love to come and see this play. It sounds phenomenal.
It's going to be in Veda Factory, which is in Aramnagar, Warsaw. And yeah, if you can make it, be great. I think you'll enjoy.
I know I will. I know I will. And, thank you so much for sharing about your journey as a person, as an actor, as a Miss Diva pageant winner.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you for asking all these questions. And I hope that whoever's listening can take away bits and pieces. And maybe it's just fun to watch and listen to, and maybe it can help somebody, because that's the objective of it. And or maybe like your name suggests, it can help somebody bring out the authenticity inside of them, if they're too afraid to do that. So,
yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, all we really can do is just keep it real.
Yeah, 100%.
So, yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. And showing us this side of you. I had a great time getting to know you.
Thank you so much.